Hey, what's up guys? My name is Chris and I want to make a video on this like brand new Macan. I think my perspective will be a little bit more unique compared to like other people. I know a lot of like the YouTubers and all that stuff will drive their cars for a couple of days, and that's really the experience that they have, and they tell you, oh, it's great, or I like this, or I don't. I've actually had two of these, and my perspective is like I've had a Macan Turbo, a 2015. I just bought a 2017 regular Macan, and this is a regular Macan. And honestly, I kind of like the regular Macan a lot more than the Turbo. The Turbo was really quick, but had a lot of things that I just like were really annoying. One of which is just like it wasted so much gas, and it's like not that big of a difference as far as like speed, right? Because like the big thing is like the PDK is just like so quick on like how it does things that like you don't really notice the difference. But you definitely do notice the difference in like the gas mileage and how fast things. I really like the way like the front end looks. They kind of changed like the front fascia, and then you can kind of see like the little radar thing in the middle right here where it's like all the sensors and all that stuff. This thing is really annoying. I know it's really nice for like the parking, but it really fucking sucks because every time it gets dirty like this, it'll start beeping at you for no reason. It'll start beeping like you'll be in the middle of a traffic and it'll just be like beep 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 beep, or when you go like on a drive-through and you have to like turn it off, and it drives me nuts. And it has like the collision avoidance. Sometimes it'll like randomly like stop itself in the middle of traffic, or like when you're at a light because it thinks that you're not gonna make it, and it's like so dangerous. I almost got into an accident when I had like the Macan Turbo. It did get a lot better, but on the earlier models it's so annoying, so annoying. This one's like fairly well equipped. The one that I have right now has like the Alcantara suede in like the middle, and my Turbo obviously was like a Turbo, so it was like fully loaded. I had the Burmester, perforated leather and everything like that. This one does have the leather in it, and then like this is how like the back looks. It looks like it has bigger wheels as well. The back is a little bit controversial because some people really like the new back, and a lot of people want to like have this back end so people know that you do have the newer model. But me personally, I kind of like those taillights on the older generation a little bit more. But that might just be because I'm a little bit of a nerd, because it's inspired by like the 918. So with like my Turbo, it had that and had the wheels that look like the 918, so it just looked like a daily driver baby 918 in my opinion. So that's what I kind of really liked about it. The space on the back is really cool. For those who don't know, you go and push. Sorry it's a little bit dirty. I'll do a video on mine as well so you guys can kind of like look and compare, but the space is pretty good. I honestly didn't put too much things, but we did go on a road trip, me and my girlfriend, and it was really good. It was really comfortable. The actual reason that we ended up buying a Macan is that I went to California and I ended up renting one of these, like a black one, and I really liked the way that I drove. I usually only drive like sedans and coupes, so I don't really like SUVs because I feel like they're really top heavy. So when you actually drive the vehicle, I hate that like you feel the weight. On the Macans, for whatever reason, Porsche did like an amazing job, and it actually kind of drives like a sedan and more like a coupe, and not so much like an SUV like you would think. And like the Cayenne like looks a lot bigger, but in reality when you get inside it's really not that bad. The back space is actually pretty good on this as well. Keep in mind I am pretty short, so if you're a little bit bigger, like if you're 6'2" or something like that, this might not necessarily be good for you. But you can see like it's got all the leather and everything. It's really nice. That's how like the seat is all the way back, so you do have some space. If you sit like the way that I sit, you have plenty of space. One of the things that I don't like about the new one, and I know that a lot of people like this, is the front end right here. So this is really cool, but it's really annoying. And let me show you guys why. Let me go ahead and get on the passenger side. This one's got like the memory seats as well. It does not have the Bose. And on the 2015s and the 2017s, I would prefer to have the Bose or the Burmester. But on these new ones, the actual bass system sounds actually pretty good. Something that I really do like. But when I go and like turn it on, so if you go over and connect to CarPlay, Do you see like the resolution on that? On the older ones, it's a little bit bigger. On this one, like the resolution is really small. So if you have a hard time seeing, or when you're like driving, sometimes like the letters being that small makes it really annoying. And then I don't like this. Do you see how there's like all this glare? And also like when you touch it, it gets really like, you know, if you have something on your fingers or anything like that, you get a lot of fingerprints on it, and that's really annoying. So kind of keep like a rag for like glasses or something so that you can kind of clean it. One thing that I do like is like these buttons right here. I'm really picky when it comes to like materials, right? And like on the knobs as well. That's one of the things that I really liked about like Mercedes and Porsche, is that they do have higher quality materials. So I like the way they feel, and they're like metal, and it makes it really feel like you're like something premium. Where like I feel like sometimes when you get inside other luxury brands, which I'm not gonna name, you start touching things and it's all made out of plastic and it just feels gross. That's one of the things that I didn't like about the new C300. The old school like thing to move these seats used to be like metal like this, and then it turned into like plastic, and it just felt really cheap. But overall, it's a really nice car. I really like the new steering wheel. I like that they kind of kept everything where it was at. And also like the new PDK transmission is like absolutely amazing. I love it. I did a launch on it, and I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it too much. It felt a lot slower, and then I did a second one and it actually like pulled. And honestly, the difference between the turbo and like the regular one is not that much, if I'm being honest with you guys. I enjoyed this one a lot more just because you do get that better gas mileage. And in 2023, with how gas prices are going and inflation and everything, saving money on gas is always great. I do like that the CarPlay is wireless, and I do like that it's a bigger screen. I just wish that it had a way to go in there and change the resolution so it's like a little bit bigger. Now like I can go in here and like move things around and put things, everything like that. On mine, it does have CarPlay, and I'll show you guys, but it does have to kind of have like the wire. Other than that, it's a great car. Really liked it. The space, you know, it's got the full panel sunroof. There's in the back seats. I'm gonna like put myself in like a driving position so you guys can kind of see what the back space would look like. And I'm sorry if this video isn't like the highest of quality or anything like that. I just want to talk about what it's like from the experience of an owner. One thing that I love about Porsches is that they hold their value really well. I've never lost money on a Porsche, both on my 911 or on either of the Macans. I was able to sell them and make money or break even, which is kind of what made me step away from Mercedes, is because I got so tired of like how much like the vehicles depreciate and how much money you actually lose, that I said I'm never buying one of these again. I do like this one, that it has the ability to change your suspension, because my other one does not. So we're gonna go ahead and take it for a drive, and it is super quiet, as you guys can tell, super smooth. Let me go ahead and zoom out a bit so you guys can kind of see. I also really like this one. If you drive it normal or in sport, it has like these downshifts, but I love how comfortable this is. Like what made us get that right is like I rented the Macan and I absolutely loved it. And I had a 911, and for I decided to straight pipe it, and it was really, really, really loud. So we went from Utah to California, and our heads were pounding from how much noise the 911 like made. And it was also a really uncomfortable car. But what really got me was that my little sister, and she's like 4, okay, she loved the car. She thought it was beautiful. She said, "Oh my God, my brother has a Batmobile." And then we went and we drove it, and it was so uncomfortable that she's like, "I hate this car." And when, you know, little kids don't lie. So the fact that she didn't like it and she was just being honest because it was too loud and annoying made me be like, you know, I need something a little bit more practical, something that if I travel with my family, because like I put my mom and my sister, my girlfriend, right, like 2 people were in the back seats. I said I need an adult car that has a little bit more cargo room. But I really like the car. Really nice, really comfortable, drives really good. You know, I drove quite a bit from the Porsche dealership where we're going to right now to my house is about 36 miles, and the tank is still full. Like the gas mileage didn't even go down at all. Where like on my turbo, at least a quarter tank would have been gone super quick. So another thing that's really nice about these is that a lot of people think that they're really expensive to like insure. I pay about $140, and that includes the 911 and the Macan Turbo at the same time. And when I went ahead and changed it to the regular Macan, it went down to like about $120, and I have maximum limits with $0 deductibles. And I am young, okay? I am 26, okay? When I had those cars, I was like 24, and I had like a couple tickets and stuff like that. So like by no means having like a perfect driving record or anything like that. And on my Mercedes, I paid about like $240. So the fact that I went down was really great. Also, you don't have to be like too scared about the maintenance. It is like about $200 to do an oil change, but it's every 10,000 miles. And that's only if you take it to the Porsche dealership. If you have a mechanic that can work on these vehicles, I would highly recommend that you do that, because you'll save money. It'll be like about $100, which is what it tends to be anyways. One thing, and I want to make it very clear, and I'm talking from experience, when it's time for you to service your transmission, do not cheap out. Take it to the Porsche dealership and get it done there. I took it to an independent mechanic, and they put the wrong oil, and it blew up the transmission on one of my 911s, okay? And it took forever to find a transmission. Luckily, I have a really good mechanic, and I got the transmission and the whole job done for about $3,000. But anybody else tries to do that, it's easily gonna cost you $6 to $7 grand, okay? So don't cheap out on it. And like the thing was, it was that like the oil change was like $700, and I thought that it was a lot of money. But let me tell you something. The transmission oil for Porsche alone is like $550. So yeah, they're only charging you $100 to go ahead and do it. And that way, like, you know, it's done at a Porsche dealership. And also when it comes to like selling the Porsches, Porsche drivers are really picky, and they want you to go ahead and service it always at the Porsche dealership. So that's something that, like, don't look at it as like you wasting money. Look at it as an investment, because you'll be able to ask more money for your vehicle, and they're more likely to go ahead and give you that money because you were taking care of the vehicle. Okay, I'm gonna put it in sport, drive it a little bit more sportedly, and you guys can kind of hear it and see like the acceleration a little bit. We're not gonna go quick. See, like, if I floor it, sounds really good. Really like this car. Amazing. If you guys are thinking about getting one, I would. Honestly, I do not understand how anybody else buys any other vehicle, because all SUVs really cost about the same, right? I mean, obviously, if you go brand new, like this car is like probably like 60 grand, right? And an Atlas, like the Volkswagen, is like about 40. But I'll show you guys. I just picked up the 2017 with about 35,000 miles for like 29K. Okay, so for that price, if I'd rather drive an Atlas or I'd rather drive a Macan, I personally would rather drive the Macan, because it's a Porsche. One, it'll hold its value a lot better, and the maintenance costs about the same. Same thing about like with the Chevys and like the Grand Cherokees and all that stuff. That's one thing that people don't necessarily think about, right? They just so focus on like the monthly payment and how much money they're spending that they don't really consider depreciation. You know, I can go ahead and sell that vehicle right now for $34,000 because the book values are so strong on it, right? Where if I buy a Cherokee right now, like a Grand Cherokee for 30 grand, that thing is going to be worth 20 grand in a year, even if I don't drive it. So why would you do that to yourself? You know, if you could drive a Porsche and break even or lose very little money on it, why would you not do it? You know, not to mention that everyone loves this car. This is like every person's dream car. Seriously, it's like this or a G-Wagon. Every time I go ahead and take it out, I get a lot of compliments, okay? And like, especially like with like when I take out the 911, I'm just driving around and they're like, I really love your car. And I'm like, oh, thanks, you know, which is really nice. No offense to all like the other brands, but that doesn't really happen. I personally don't care about that stuff. Again, I care more just about the driving experience. That's why I personally like Porsches, just because they drive amazing. What made me buy a 911 is that I had a C63 and I drove a C63, and at the time it was new. It was a 2019, okay? Right after I drove my 911, which was in 06, and the 06 drove better than my brand new Mercedes. Like, when the confidence it gave you in the corners and how it handled and everything was so much better. And then my girlfriend and I took both the 911s, because we were selling the convertible, because I was going to stay with the coupe, all the way to Havasu. And we were like with a Corvette, like the brand new, the C8, okay? And we did a rolling race, I shouldn't be saying that, in Mexico. We were already at 80, and the Corvette could not keep up. It was like going neck and neck, and then we slowly started pulling away. And I'm like, this is a 2006. That's a brand new car. How do you not keep up with that car? Like, what the heck is going on right now, you know? So, yeah, anyways, that's my little review on this vehicle. Not much has changed. It's just mostly the interior. That's the nice thing about Porsches as well, is that they kind of like keep the model years for about 7 years, and they don't change much to it. That's one of the things that I love about Porsche, and especially the 911 and also like the Macan and the Cayenne. All these brands make a new truck every other year, right? And they all have issues and things like that because they keep changing it every 2 or 3 years, right? It's like new engine, new transmission, new interior, all this stuff, new things that could go wrong. Porsche does not do that. One, they have that pedigree in racing, right? And they do a lot of endurance racing because that's all they care about. Like, the reason that Porsche is not in Formula One is because they say it doesn't matter. It doesn't make our vehicles better. Endurance racing makes our vehicles better because it makes them more reliable. It makes sure that they can handle the abuse. We got to engineer the vehicles so that they last, right? And instead of coming up with a new model every single year, that's why a lot of Porsches look very similar. They just keep making the same model better and better and better and better and better. And like, the moment you drive this vehicle, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, nothing drives like a Porsche, and it's so difficult going back once you've already owned one. And then the fact that you don't lose money on them, and they're really cheap to insure, and they get good gas mileage, is like great. Like, what more do you want? My cousin had a Tacoma, a TRD Pro, and he was constantly like complaining about how much gas it weighs. Same thing with the RAV4s and all that stuff. He's like, man, these things are like so heavy, they weigh so much gas. And we actually ended up like comparing how much money we spent on gas, and we spent about the same, and I had the turbo. And I drive very spiritedly. And I'm like, what do you do, bro? And he's like, nothing, I just go to work and that's it. So yeah, I'll do a video on my car so you guys can kind of like see the difference. And let me know what you guys think. That way you guys can kind of do like a side-by-side and see kind of like what you like about the interior.